Chapter 41 The Centipede. The disciples of Zhuangdao sect carefully observed their counterpart, silently comparing themselves to one another. They paid particular attention to the black-robed disciples who had reached the 6th level of Qi condensation. Wang Zhuo, with his handsome appearance and 5th level cultivation, also caught their attention, and many made mental notes about him. However, Wang Lin, being only at the 3rd level of Qi condensation, was largely ignored by the group, apart from Liu Mei, who had shown some fleeting interest. No one paid him any special attention. While the elders of both sects conversed, they too were secretly evaluating the disciples. The 3 elders from Zhuangdao sect grew increasingly delighted as they observed, thinking that if these were all the disciples Heng Yue Sect had to offer, victory in the upcoming competition would be certain. However, having competed with Heng Yue Sect for many years, they knew their opponents could be cunning, often keeping their trump cards hidden until the crucial moment. Among the current disciples, although there were many at the 6th level of Qi condensation, they were all unfamiliar faces. None of the disciples from the previous competition were present. Those absent disciples were the ones they were truly concerned about for this competition. Sect leader Huang Long swept his gaze across the Zhuangdao disciples, lingering particularly on the male and female disciples who possessed single water spirit roots. He inwardly sighed at how far Heng Yue Sect had fallen in 500 years. They now struggled to match even Zhuangdao Sect, a minor sect that had been virtually unknown 500 years ago, and had suffered multiple consecutive losses. Although he had believed victory would be certain this time, the appearance of 2 rare single spirit root disciples from the opposing side added to his worries about the competition. Should we have the purple-robed core disciples participate? But they're all in closed cultivation. Suddenly, Huang Long's gaze fell upon a disciple standing at the very back of the opposing group. His expression subtly changed as he made his decision. Very well, since they have such disciples, it seems we must bring out our core disciples. With this thought in mind, he maintained a pleasant expression and said warmly, "Friend Doing, our disciples have traveled far. Let them rest first while we elders have a proper gathering. Please enter the main hall." He gestured invitingly with one hand, smiling at his guests. The 3 Zhuangdao sect elders nodded with smiles and followed him into the hall. The Heng Yue sect elders accompanied them, with Master Daozi being the last to enter. He glanced at the disciples from both sects and said, "Wang Zhuo, you are responsible for hosting the Zhuangdao sect disciples. If anything goes wrong, don't expect me to let you off easily." Wang Zhuo, clearly prepared for this task, immediately responded respectfully, "Rest assured, Master, I will take excellent care of our fellow disciples from Zhuangdao sect." Master Daozi smiled at the Zhuangdao sect disciples and said, "Young ones from Zhuangdao sect, if you need anything, just let Wang Zhuo know. I'm too old to keep up with you youngsters. Do interact and learn from each other. The future of the cultivation world belongs to you." With that, he smiled and entered the main hall. Once the elders left, both groups of disciples noticeably relaxed. Several female disciples from Heng Yue Sect immediately gathered around the male disciple with the water spirit root, chatting and smiling, their admiration evident in their eyes. Similarly, many Zhuangdao Sect disciples gathered around the Heng Yue disciples who were at the 6th level of Qi condensation, eagerly discussing cultivation experiences. The remaining disciples also mingled and conversed, with many gathering around the motionless 1,000-legged centipede on the ground, expressing their amazement. Wang Lin scanned the scene. Having no interest in joining the crowd, he found a corner on the steps where he could sit and watch the blue sky and white clouds while enjoying the sunlight, finding peace in his solitude. Among the inner disciples of Heng Yue Sect, there were others like Wang Lin who preferred solitude. Miss Xu was one of them. Seeing Wang Lin's relaxed demeanor from afar, she walked over. "Brother Wang, I've been wanting to congratulate you on reaching the 3rd level of Qi condensation. Do you inner disciples work as diligently as you do at cultivation?" Miss Xu smiled gently. sitting down on the steps beside him, unconcerned about the dirt. Wang Lin smiled lightly and shook his head, saying, "You give me too much credit. I see most people working hard at their cultivation." Miss Ju gazed at the white clouds in the sky and sighed softly. "Don't be so modest, Brother Wang. During those 4 years of seclusion in the back mountain, almost all our fellow disciples would frequently come out, but I rarely saw you. Cultivation is a monotonous pursuit, and honestly, I admire your dedication. Reaching the 3rd level in 4 years requires tremendous willpower." Wang Lin rubbed his nose and smiled. "Sister Ju, haven't you also reached the 3rd level?" Miss Ju sighed wistfully. "I reached the 3rd level 3 years ago, but now many who were behind me have surpassed me. Perhaps I truly can't sever my worldly attachments." Wang Lin remained silent for a moment before saying, "The Tao is impersonal. Sister Ju, if you wish to advance, you must sever these worldly ties." Miss Ju turned her head, her beautiful eyes gazing at Wang Lin as she smiled brilliantly. "Brother Wang, I can see you've reached the peak of the 3rd level and could break through at any time. You'll probably surpass me soon as well." Wang Lin glanced at her stunningly beautiful face and smiled bitterly, shaking his head. "I won't be breaking through any time soon. These worldly attachments aren't so easily severed. I can't do it." Miss Ju paused, then hesitantly asked, "Brother Wang, may I ask what worldly attachment you find difficult to sever?" Wang Lin shook his head without answering, his mind involuntarily conjuring images of his aging parents' faces. Among all virtues, filial piety came first. How could he simply sever the debt of gratitude he owed his parents? He couldn't bring himself to do it. Seeing Wang Lin's reluctance to answer, Miss Yu sighed softly and said, "What I can't sever is family love. This path of immortality is too cruel. Perhaps I'm simply not suited for it." Just as Wang Lin was about to respond, his expression suddenly changed. He turned his head to see Wang Zhuo in the distance. His eyes filled with intense malice as he stared at Wang Lin and Miss Yu. Wang Zui's voice carried from afar, "Fellow disciples from Zhuangdao sect, since you mentioned that this 1,000-legged centipede prefers low prey, allow us to handle its feeding during your stay at Heng Yue Sect. I have a junior fellow disciple for whom cultivation is merely a waste of time. Catching wild beasts for feeding would be perfect for him. Brother Wang Zhuo, is this appropriate? The 1,000-legged centipede isn't fully tamed yet. There could be danger if strangers try to feed it." The male disciple with the water spirit root from Zhuangdao sect hesitated before speaking. "No need to worry, Brother Liu. How can cultivators retreat in the face of danger? You are our honored guests, and such menial tasks naturally fall to us while you are here at Heng Yue Sect," Wang Zhuo replied with a gentle expression. Chapter 42, Centipede Venom. "Indeed, let us handle this matter, fellow Xuandao disciples." Seminar disciples agreed with Wang Zui's suggestion. The Xuandao disciples hesitated. The Liu disciple was about to decline using the elders as an excuse when the middle-aged man standing at the back gave a seemingly casual cough. Liu's expression changed slightly before he nodded, saying, "Then we'll trouble our Heng Yue Sect seniors with this task." Wang Zhuo smiled and turned toward Wang Lin's direction, calling out loudly, "Junior brother Wang Lin, this menial task of feeding the 1,000-legged centipede falls to you. Do be very careful." Hearing this, all the Xuandao disciples turned to look at Wang Lin, their expressions peculiar. By now, they could clearly see the underlying scheme. Wang Lin must have offended Wang Zhuo. An inner disciple of Heng Yue Sect mockingly said, "I was wondering who Wang Zhuo was referring to. As expected, it's junior brother Wang Lin. This work suits him perfectly. With his talent, cultivation really is a waste of time. He'd never qualify for the exchange competition anyway." Another chimed in, "Such menial work besides this waste. Who else could handle it? Junior brother Wang Lin, do your best. Don't bring shame to our Heng Yue Sect." As the mockery continued, the Xuandao disciples fully understood the situation. Wang Lin had not only offended Wang Zhuo, but had also become a target of ridicule among the inner disciples due to his poor aptitude. Such situations occurred in every sect and weren't considered unusual. Thus, in the minds of all Zhuang disciples, Wang Lin was immediately categorized as worthless. Miss Xu, sitting beside Wang Lin, frowned and gave Wang Zhuo a look of disgust before saying softly, "Junior brother Wang Lin. If I hadn't come over, he wouldn't have targeted you." Wang Lin shook his head. Wang Zu's antagonism wasn't new, it had started from their first meeting. The entire inner sect looked down on him, partly due to rumors that he had attempted suicide to enter the sect and curry favor with the elders through degrading acts. Most importantly, he was only at the third level of key condensation, the lowest among the inner disciples. Strength determined everything. Wang Lin glanced at the fierce-looking thousand-legged centipede lying on the ground and chose to ignore the comment. Soon after, Wang Zhuo arranged for several disciples to escort the Zhuangdao sect members to their guest quarters. Before leaving, Liu, the single water spirit root disciple from Zhuangdao sect, glanced at Wang Lin and said kindly, "Junior brother Wang Lin, our sect's thousand-legged centipede remains untamed. When feeding it, please be cautious and don't get too close to avoid being injured." Wang Zhuo gave Wang Lin a cold smirk before leaving. Soon, everyone had dispersed from the great hall's entrance. Miss Xu frowned and exchanged a few more words with Wang Lin before departing as well. Looking at the empty courtyard, Wang Lin stood up and walked toward the centipede, stopping 10 zhang away. He carefully observed the spiritual beast. Up close, the thousand-legged centipede was truly massive. Its body comprised multiple segments, each bearing a pair of dark feet that resembled countless sharp daggers. Its bamboo-like body emitted a faint black gleam. Most striking were its heads, two huge pincers, jutting out menacingly. Most notable were the two long red antennae on its head, moving without wind like writhing snakes. Sensing Wang Lin's attention, it opened its closed eyes and gave him a cold glance. A wave of intense cold swept toward him. Wang Lin felt a chill, but his internal spiritual energy quickly neutralized it. The centipede showed surprise in its eyes, gave Wang Lin a deep look, then closed its eyes again. Wang Lin found this interesting, noting that the spiritual beast was indeed exceptional, capable of showing human-like expressions. After brief contemplation, he quickly left the area. Walking through the mountains, he extended his spiritual sense and easily caught several small animals, carrying them back. Along the way, he encountered some Zhuangdao disciples accompanied by inner sect seniors who were sharing interesting stories about the sect. These seniors burst into laughter upon seeing the small animals in Wang Lin's hands, drawing the attention of the Zhuangdao disciples. One of the Zhuangdao sect female disciples, who was exceptionally beautiful with a delicate complexion like water, said with a sweet laugh, "Junior brother, these small animals you've caught won't be enough to satisfy the thousand-legged centipede. You'd better find a large snake that's what it truly loves. Sister Woyang, this fool is usually as mute as a wooden post. Don't bother with him. You don't know, but he originally didn't even qualify for cultivation. He failed all the tests, but after making a huge fuss, the elders had no choice but to accept him as a nominal disciple." One of the inner disciples immediately chimed in flattering line. Wang Lin recognized the speaker. It was Sun Hao, who had mocked him with Wang Zhuo on the back mountain. "A nominal disciple? But I see he's wearing red robes, which should mean he's an inner disciple of Heng Yue Sect." Someone from Zhuangdao sect questioned. Confused. "I haven't finished yet. This worthless fellow somehow used some underhanded methods to win a master's favor, and before long he was accepted as a true disciple. But even so, with his talent, he'll never progress beyond being a laughingstock." Sun Hao said with a loud laugh. Wang Lin gave them an indifferent glance without saying a word and quickly left. Soon he returned to the centipede and tossed the small animals beside it. The two small animals, upon seeing the centipede, immediately collapsed to the ground, trembling in fear. The centipede opened its eyes, but didn't even look at the small animals beside it. It opened its mouth and released a black mist. When the mist touched the two small animals, it made a sizzling sound. In an instant, the two small animals melted into pools of blood, which the centipede sucked up like a blood pillar into its mouth. Wang Lin stepped back, his eyes flickering with interest. Centipedes generally contain toxins, which were their strongest means of attack. He remembered reading in a book during his childhood that a centipede's venom was closely related to its size. Simply put, the larger the centipede, the more potent its venom. Chapter 43. An Old Friend. The centipede before him was 100 jang long. Its venom must have reached terrifying levels. Wang Lin was no stranger to centipedes. Village children often caught small ones from between rocks to play with, and some specifically caught them to feed to poultry. Sometimes when accidentally bitten by a centipede, though the bite area would swell and redden, simply washing it thoroughly with clean water would prevent any life-threatening danger. At worst, one would need to rest for a few days before recovering. There was even a time when he had specifically collected centipede venom. The village doctor had said that when used properly, centipede venom could treat illnesses. Years ago, his father, unable to afford lumber while trying to support the family, had gone to the mountains to cut wood himself. The mountain's harsh cold had caused him to fall seriously ill, nearly losing his life. The doctor's prescription at that time had included centipede. Though his father recovered, the illness left lasting effects. During rainy days, his entire body would ache unbearably. The doctor said centipede venom could alleviate the symptoms, so Wang Lin had caught many centipedes to treat his father's condition. Even now, Wang Lin vividly remembered those past events. Looking at the 100 jang long centipede before him, Wang Lin rubbed his chin, thinking that a small centipede venom could treat illness. Then this giant centipede's venom must be even more effective. Perhaps it could permanently cure his father's chronic condition. However, this centipede was enormous. Wang Lin felt insignificant in comparison. He worried that attempting to collect its venom might result in injury. Suddenly, Wang Lin's expression changed as he recalled a folk remedy from a village for extracting centipede venom. According to tradition, certain herbs could be boiled down into pellets which, when fed to a centipede, would cause it to expel its venom. With this thought, he stared at the 1,000-legged centipede with growing interest and immediately headed toward the pill room. If there was one place in the entire sect with the most complete collection of medicinal herbs, it would be there. He hadn't seen Wan Hao, and for years this would be a good opportunity to visit. As dusk approached, Wang Lin arrived at the pill room just in time to see Wang Hao carefully sneaking out through a side door. Noticing Wang Lin, Wang Hao quickly put a finger to his lips, gesturing for him to leave first. Wang Lin was startled. Using his spiritual sense, he discovered their third senior brother inside, seriously focused on adding various medicines to the pill furnace. After walking some distance, Wang Hao tiptoed out, without saying a word. He grabbed Wang Lin and frantically until they were far away. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. Wang Lin, I heard you joined the training 4 years ago. How are you doing? What level of key condensation have you reached? Wang Hao asked eagerly after catching his breath, his expression showing a hint of pride. 3rd level of key condensation. Wait. Wang Lin scanned with his spiritual sense. Wang Hao appeared transparent to him, and with just one look, he was shocked. Wang Hao had reached the 1st level of key condensation, but his body was very strange. All spiritual energy flowed in an unusual pattern rather than the normal circulation, following an bizarre new path. With each circulation, this flow would extract a trace of essence from Wang Hao's internal organs and merge it into itself. Wang Hao smiled proudly and asked, "You noticed?" Wang Lin nodded and said solemnly, "Wang Hao, tell me what's really going on." Wang Hao gave Wang Lin a mysterious look and smiled. "This is a cultivation technique I secretly obtained. I'll tell you the details after I've mastered it. By the way, Brother Iron Pillar, What did you come to see me about?" Wang Lin gave him a deep look. He felt Wang Hao's cultivation was too strange, but seeing Wang Hao's evident excitement, he didn't press further. After pondering briefly, he explained about the medicinal decoction he wanted to make. Wang Hao immediately guaranteed it wouldn't be a problem. After chatting a bit more, Wang Hao hurriedly left. Just as Wang Lin was about to return to the herb garden, his expression turned peculiar as he looked toward the Zhuangdao sect disciples' guest quarters. After a moment's thought, he walked in that direction. Before he got close, he heard an exaggerated voice coming from inside. "Let me tell you, fellow seniors from Heng Yue Sect, my flying sword is extraordinary. It's one of Zhuangdao Sect's priceless treasures, called the Ziwu gold coin sword. You can ask around about it. I managed to sneak it out with great difficulty. Whoever trades for it must swear an oath not to use it in the exchange competition 3 days from now, or else the deal's off." "Really? Is this treasure truly as amazing as you claim?" someone immediately questioned. "I, Li Shen, never lie. If you don't believe me, that's fine. I can sell this flying sword anywhere." Wang Lin had noticed the unusual gathering of people from both sects earlier. When he walked, he saw a Zhuangdao sect disciple about 20 years old with a square face and thick eyebrows, looking righteous while holding a small sword made of copper coins that emitted a blue light. He stood in the center, speaking boastfully. Around him, various Zhuangdao sect disciples showed strange expression. One of them, unable to watch any more, coughed and said, "Junior brother Li Shan speaks truly. The Ziwu gold coin sword is indeed one of our Zhuangdao sect's treasures. However, I must say that the one in Li Shan's hand is a fake, though it still has some use." Several Heng Yue Sect disciples discussed among themselves before a male disciple of the 5th level of Qi condensation stepped forward. Wang Lin remembered his surname was Xiao. After whispering with Li Shan for a while and showing him something, both smiled broadly. Having reached a deal, "It's just an ordinary iron sword with some spirit gold fragments added, yet they dare to sell it. Zhuangdao sect is nothing special." Someone among the inner disciples who could recognize its true nature sneered. "This senior brother is mistaken. My junior brother already clarified it's a fake. Yet someone from your Heng Yue sect still bought it. Such items make perfect collectibles." Li Shan immediately retorted, "Brother Li, you're wrong. I didn't buy this broken sword for collection. I bought it to give to my father. My family runs a butcher shop, and this sword will be perfect for that." The Xiao disciple from Heng Yue Sect who bought the sword suddenly changed his expression and laughed loudly. Li Shan wasn't angry and said with a grin, "Whatever you do with it after buying it is none of my business. Now then, I have another treasure called the invincible black ash stinking thunderbolt. This is truly something special, and I'm absolutely not lying this time. We can test it right now." He took out a pitch black sphere and threw it at a nearby wall. With a boom, the wall developed spider web like cracks. The surroundings turned pitch black, and a horrible stench spread through the air. "How about that? This invincible black ash stinking thunderbolt is my exclusive hidden weapon, though its power isn't great. If it hits someone, even I can't wash off the black ash. Especially this stink I carefully collected bodily fluids from dozens of strange beasts to make it. It's absolutely perfect for disgusting people," Li Shan explained proudly with a smile. Everyone looked at each other in amazement. Some female disciples covered their noses and stepped back. Wang Lin was quite surprised too, but after scanning with his spiritual sense, his expression became somewhat strange. The Zhuangdao sect disciples all looked embarrassed, but Li Shan was known in Zhuangdao sect for creating various bizarre items, and few were willing to provoke him after all. No one wanted to be hit by his stink bomb. This invincible black ash stinking thunderbolt had quite a reputation within Zhuangdao sect, almost rivaling several of the sect's treasures in notoriety. "Well, I really went all out this time. But remember what I said, you absolutely can't use it in the competition 3 days from now, or I won't sell it to you." Li Shen put on a serious expression while inwardly laughing. You fools. The more I say this, the more you'll want to use it. There'll be quite a show then. The elders will praise me when they return, and might even give me some magical treasures. Chapter 44. Li Shan. Thinking this, his eyes gleamed as he started his sales pitch. Fellow senior brothers from Heng Yue Sect, there's an old saying that killing someone just puts them in the ground. But let me tell you, disgusting someone is far more satisfying than killing them. Making someone stink and leave them with 1,000 years of shame. Just imagine, when you're fighting an enemy, suddenly using this move even if you can't beat them. You'll definitely have an unimaginable advantage in terms of face. And when escaping, this move is incredibly effective. With the enemy covered in black ash and reeking, if you run towards crowded places, they wouldn't dare chase you. Even better, when dealing with a loved rival, this move can decide the outcome in one go. Whoever dares to compete with you for a woman, just use this move. I guarantee the little sister won't associate with them any more. She won't be able to stand the stench. Li Shen's enthusiastic pitch moved many inner disciples' heart, especially the part about dealing with love rivals, which particularly tempted quite a few of them. This item was truly an unrivaled trump card in the realm of love rivalry. At this moment, Li Shen's gaze fell upon Wang Lin standing nearby. He recognized him as Heng Yue Sect's useless disciple. In his eyes, such worthless disciples were prime customers willing to spend everything on one chance. Having already squeezed dry several similar disciples from Zhuang Sect, Li Shen's heart bloomed with joy upon seeing Wang Lin. He continued, "This thunderbolt is especially effective for junior brothers with lower cultivation levels. With this in hand, who would dare bully you? Whoever bullies you, just throw one of these at them. I, Li Shen, guarantee you'll be able to walk all in the sect. No one will dare provoke you." As he said this, Li Shen inwardly laughed, thinking it was a sin far from no one daring to provoke them. They'd likely end up getting beat and badly instead. This thunderbolt is truly the ultimate defensive weapon for junior brothers with lower cultivation. Today I'm having a big sale buy to get one free. Consider it me building goodwill. When we meet in the cultivation world in the future, don't forget to look out for me. Seeing many people were tempted, Li Shen increased his sales pitch. Among the inner disciples moved by his flowery speech, one said, "Is this thing really as amazing as you claim? Bring out several and let me test one. If it's truly as you say, I'll buy a few to play with." Without hesitation, Li Shen took out dozens of thunderbolts from his storage bag and gently placed them on the ground, as if afraid they might explode. He said, "Remember, handle these treasures with extreme care. When using them, just throw them out. They'll automatically explode upon meeting resistance." The inner disciple who spoke was someone Wang Lin recognized. It was Sun Hao. Sun Hao stepped forward and carefully picked up one of the many thunderbolts, examining it closely in his palm. Li Shen maintained a calm expression while inwardly sneering. "You little thing, you think you can spot anything wrong? Apart from the sect elders, even the senior brother can't discover the secret inside." Chapter 45. Contemptible. Sun Hao examined it for a long time, but couldn't find anything unusual about the thunderbolt. After a brief consideration, he threw it toward an empty space. As the thunderbolt traced an arc through the air, at the moment it touched the ground, Li Shen silently commanded, "Explode." With a boom, the thunderbolt exploded, scattering blackish everywhere and releasing a terrible stench. Wang Lin's eyes flickered. His spiritual sense covered the area undetected, and at the moment the thunderbolt hit the ground, he clearly sensed a ripple of spiritual energy emanating from Li Shen's body. It had been the same during the first demonstration. Wang Lin stared at the thunderbolts and gave a slight smile, choosing not to expose the trick as he continued watching. "Well, senior brother, aren't my thunderbolts impressive? However, I'm an honest man, so let me be upfront. These treasures don't explode successfully every time. There's a special throwing technique involved. After you buy them, you can slowly figure it out. Don't blame me for deception if they fail to explode sometimes, Li Shan said with a smile. Without hesitation, Sun Hao stepped forward, whispered something to Li Shan, and pulled him aside, taking out various items. After pretending to consider for a while, Li Shan handed over 10 thunderbolts to complete the trade. He muttered, "Usually it's buy 6 get 3 free, but since you're my first customer, I'll give you an extra one." With someone taking the lead and demonstrating the product, several more inner disciples came forward, whispering with Li Shan and making trades. After each transaction, Li Shan would advise that he couldn't guarantee success every time, suggesting may practice if one failed, and offering to demonstrate the throwing technique if they had questions. As he said this, Li Shan laughed inwardly, thinking how they would fail repeatedly on their own, only succeeding once or twice under his guidance. Since he'd only be at Heng Yue Sect for a few days, he'd be long gone before they could raise any suspicions. Still, some inner disciples remained cautious and didn't make purchases. Soon, only a few thunderbolts remained. Li Shan looked smugly at the Heng Yue Sect disciples, thinking to himself, bunch of idiots. Hundiet, if you don't use them in 3 days, you've just been scammed once. But if you do use them, there will be quite a show. These thunderbolts are completely under my control. They won't explode even if someone hits them with an AWL. I can't wait for the competition in 3 days. His gaze swept the area and suddenly noticed Wang Lin's ambiguous smile. He paused, his eyes shifting as he approached. "Junior brother, why not get a few to play with? With your cultivation level, these thunderbolts are perfect for you. If anyone bothers you, just throw one at them." Wang Lin glanced at Li Shan, showing a faint trace of mockery. Li Shan was startled. That single glance made him feel as if his inner secrets had been exposed. He carefully examined Wang Lin, but seeing he was clearly only at the 3rd level of key condensation, and his reputation as useless couldn't be wrong, Li Shan dismissed it as his imagination. "Fine, I'll trade for 2. Though I only have some sectalmusnums, nothing precious," Wang Lin said with a light smile. Li Shan hesitated for the first time, scrutinizing Wang Lin again. Only after confirming he was indeed at the 3rd level of key condensation did he relax, taking out 3 thunderbolts and saying, "Junior brother, I'll do you a favor. Talmusnums will do buy to get 1 free. These 3 thunderbolts will definitely give you an extraordinary experience." As he spoke, he thought to himself, "Extraordinary indeed, I'm not lying about that." "Hitch, as long as you're carrying these thunderbolts, even if you don't participate in the competition, I'll find a chance to let you experience what extraordinary really means when we meet again. It'll be something you'll remember for life."